The night off, we are beginning with an earthquake that shook parts of the Midlands today. That 3.3 magnitude quake hit at around 2:20 or so this afternoon. It was located about 3 miles outside of Elgin in Kershaw County. News 19's Nija Hood joins us live with more on the quake today as she talked to some area residents there. Nija, what are they telling you out there? They felt it pretty good, right?
Yes, JR. Now, I actually spoke with a seismologist, Dr. Stephen Jaume. He is the associate professor of geology over at the College of Charleston, and he says this is the first earthquake on record to come out of the town of Elgin and its surrounding areas. Now, that really helps put into perspective the reaction that we got from community residents today who say they were left so shaken by this earthquake. And even though it was only a 3.3 magnitude, it was pretty mild, and there's typically no structural damage that happens during an earthquake of that magnitude. He did say that it should be mentioned that when one earthquake happens, typically another soon follows.
Earlier this year near the Monticello Reservoir, there was the group of earthquakes. So that earthquake swarm, they're all within a mile or two of each other. Right. So earthquakes are they're kind of social creatures. They tend to occur together. Right. They tend to occur, local to each other. When you find one somewhat isolated from the next nearest one, it's a little unusual.
Now, Dr. Jaume says typically an aftershock occurs within the first 24 to 72 hours after an earthquake, but that aftershock will be a lot less severe than what people felt this afternoon. JR?
Nija, you mentioned aftershocks. We're seeing some social media posts from people claiming they have felt an aftershock already in that area. Nothing confirmed from the experts tonight. Have you felt anything out there this afternoon, an aftershock of any kind?
No, JR. We've been here for a few hours now, and we haven't felt anything. So I'm not sure exactly where those people would have felt that earthquake aftershock, but we have not felt anything.
Again, this is just social media posts from some of our viewers saying they thought they felt an aftershock. So Nija Hood, thank you for that update. Of course, there are several fault lines running through the Midlands of South Carolina, through the entire state, I should say. Our meteorologist Daniel Bonds is joining us tonight with more details on that. Daniel?
Yeah, you're right. And I did want to mention about the aftershock. Nothing official as of yet, but it looks like evidence is a little bit greater that there probably was an aftershock at about 5:39 p.m. Still waiting on confirmation from the U.S. Geological Survey. But as Nija mentioned, there was that earthquake 3.3 near Elgin. There's I-20, there's Elgin, there's Lugoff, and this was felt all across the Midlands, including parts of Fairfield, Richland, Lexington counties. It was felt really all across the area. But a pretty strong earthquake for this area. 3 is minor in the greater scheme of things, pretty minor, but often felt, typically no damage. Luckily, no damage being reported as of yet, but this is not something unheard of for us here across the Midlands. These are the inferred or assumed fault lines, and notice that earthquake right along that assumed fault line, and they're the map fault lines, those ones in yellow. So not unheard of to have some rumblings of an earthquake across the Midlands. But we'll take a closer look at your forecast coming up in just a few minutes. JR?
Daniel, thank you. Today's quake comes a week after a smaller earthquake was reported in the Lowcountry near Ladson. That 1.1 quake hit on the morning of December 20th. It was centered about 9 miles or so south of Somerville, and it was barely felt, if felt at all. In late October, there were 7 earthquakes reported within a week's time. Those quakes all happened around the Monticello Reservoir near Jenkinsville in Fairfield County. That reservoir powers a hydroelectric plant and provides cooling water for the VC Summer nuclear facility. Now, earthquakes happen throughout the state, but most occur near the coast. Approximately 70% of earthquakes in South Carolina are in the coastal plain area, with most happening in the Lowcountry around Somerville and Ladson and Bowman. Back in 1886, Charleston was hit by a catastrophic earthquake, a 7.3. It was felt as far away as Cuba and New York. At least 60 people were killed and thousands of buildings were damaged. Structural damage extended several hundreds of miles to cities in Alabama, Ohio, and in Kentucky.